Welcome to our Eternal Vedic Science class, The Scientific Proof of God's Existence. We know that it's a surprising title for a class because nowadays people like to prove the opposite. We're going to try to travel inside the first manuscripts in the world, the Vedic Shastra, the Vedic manuscripts, and walk side by side with modern science to try to find out if we can really prove the existence of some degree of intelligence superior to mankind. First of all, we are going to introduce the Vedas. The Vedas are the world's most ancient and most advanced manuscripts. They are a gigantic guide for all scientific and philosophical matters. Everything we heard in science and inside philosophy and inside spirituality is in the Vedas. First time that we hear about soul, first time that we hear about metempsychosis, reincarnation, the first time we hear about spiritual guides, the first time we hear about chakras, the first time we hear about anything that you can think about regarding spirituality is inside these ancient texts. The Vedic civilization existed much more than 10,000 years ago. Few people are aware that Vedic civilization predated all other known societies. So we can find in the Itihasas the moment that the Western societies appeared. Egypt, Mesopotamia, Persia, they are all related to the Vedic empire, and they appear after the original Indian culture. Before they were written down, the Vedas were mantras that were memorized, learned by heart and taught individually by reliable masters to children in the Gurukulas, the way they used to say. Children used to memorize this, as we said in the last class, science and astrology. Well, let's get an idea of how big it was, the Vedic Empire. So we, for sure, all the historians agree that Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Brunei, Cambodia, Timor, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, the Philippines, Tibet, Yunnan and Afghanistan were part of what we call today the Greater India. Thousands of years ago, Bharatvarsh. But other sources also say that Russia, China, Mongolia, Syria and other countries are also part of Greater India. Curiously, the manuscripts themselves say that the emperor of the Vedic Empire used to control and rule 6 gigantic islands. And we think of the 6 continents, considering the fact that Antarctica is almost merely a wall of ice, right? So, and the most interesting thing is that this is the only single culture that is still alive today. If you go in to look for other ancient cultures like Roman Empire, the Greek, the ancient Greek, they are not, like the culture is not functioning, is not alive anymore, but the Vedic culture is still alive. People still study and behave they used to do thousands of years ago in the ancient India. This is a picture of Jagannath Puri's temple, one of the most traditional temples of this culture. The age of the Vedas. Astronomical notations found in Indians' ancient texts describe the position of the stars at the time the narrations were happening. And when you put that data inside the computer, inside our modern computers, you go back to thousands and hundreds of years ago. So those who say that the Vedas are recent, they base their calculations on the age of specific copies of the manuscripts. So they find a copy, they date the copy, and they find out that the copy is from 300 before the Common Era, and they say that the Vedas are very recent, but they are dating the book, the copy, not the source of the culture. You see, and the position of the stars prove this inaccurate calculation wrong. The Vedas are crossing millennia to reach our culture today, our moment in time. what are the Vedas? So we can consider the first 4 Vedas, the Rig, the Yajur, the Sama, and the Atharva Veda. They talk about how to deal with our existence in our level. They are like the first lesson. Many people, when I start talking about the Vedas, they say, okay, let's read the first ones. That's not the gate of entrance in our time and culture, because they will teach you how to relate with matter and how to relate with subtle matter in a very different way that you could access today. People will get difficulty if they start studying the Rig, the Yajur, the Sama, and the Atharva Veda. Other ancient texts are also considered very important, like the Upanishads, the Puranas, the essential Bhagavad Gita, and other authorized texts like the Chaitanya Bhagavat or the Brahma Samhita, for example. The purpose of our classes, the purpose of this channel is not to convert anyone to any kind of philosophy or religion, but to help people see things from a different point of view. We're going to look reality from a different perspective, the perspective that the ancient Indians had thousands and thousands of years ago. So this is something that we can research and find online. It's a declaration of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering of Louisiana State University of 1998, saying that the Indians were already talking about the velocity of light, the speed of light. It was already inside the Puranic cosmology. There is no other literature in material known civilizations that have scientific matching with reality other than the Vedas. We're not competing with anyone. People think, oh, you like the Vedas because you chose this. No. I'm studying all of them, and there is no other literature that can fit into science like this. So that's why we're focusing on this one and leaving other interesting ideas in another chapter. My invitation is to dive into the Vedas, that, as Schopenhauer said, are the most rewarding and most elevated literature in the world. Probably we all know Schopenhauer was the intellectual father of Friedrich Nietzsche. So he is a very, very important and influential thinker of the West. Here Jung, the famous psychologist, said that studying the Vedas, we are forced to contemplate the arrogance that characterizes the Western people as barbaric. And why is that? Because in the West, when people win a prize, when the people achieve something, they want society to applaud them, right? They want to become famous. They want their name to cross all the countries. In Vedic culture, it's not like that. You know, someone who achieves excellence will ask those who understand something through his work to praise his own teacher, his spiritual master, his guru. So that's why we're going to pronounce this mantra, thanking all the spiritual, knowledgeable souls, the self-realized souls that kept this knowledge alive until today. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yana Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We said last time that the translation is, I was born in deep darkness, but my spiritual masters opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Where does a baby take birth? Inside the belly of the mother. Is the sun there? Is the moon there? So the Vedas are not only, you know, something that is allegoric, that makes you understand, okay, knowledge is important because I could see reality. It's something literal all the time. You know, I took birth in a place with no sun, inside the belly of my mother. And the mother is considered the first guru because she's the one who's going to teach us how to eat, how to love, how to speak, word by word. Okay, who becomes attracted to the Indian philosophy? The explanations found in the Vedas will attract those who know the only mistakes we can make in seeking the truth are not to begin and not to reach the ultimate goal. We need to find the perfect answer. Otherwise, we're going to use our life just to material, vain activities, the way the sage explained. So it is said in the scriptures that cleanliness, loyalty, avoidance of toxic substance, non-violence prepare the human being to become receptive to the esoteric meanings found in the sacred texts. Intelligence comes from ethics and not the other way around. And this is something very strange for Western-minded people. Even Indians today think like Westerns do, right? We think that our intelligence creates our ethics. And the Vedas say, no, the way you behave with others create the subtleness of what you can see. I find this like an amazing upside down point of the way of what we think in the West. It's the way you behave. That's why sincerity is so important. We were talking about that before the class. Sincerity is important because it will make your eyes sharp enough to see reality the way it is. Because if you're sincere, you're going to behave better with the others. So you're going simply to realize what is around you with the help of the Vedic masters and the Vedic Shastra, the manuscripts. Okay, the Vedas talk about the machine of material reality. We learn that everything is made of atoms. In school we learn that, right? Which are the minuscule and mysterious particles that form the material reality around us. Atoms are made of vibrating subparticles, and we go in to dive inside atoms within some moments. So atoms bend to each other, creating molecules that comprise everything material, including the invisible air. So everything that is around us is made of this tiny little balls. We could say it that way to give easy explanation to someone who's listening about atoms today. Okay, the Bhagavata Purana, written 5,000 years ago, talks about the atom. The 3rd canto, chapter 11, verse 3 and 4. One can estimate time by measuring the movements of the combination of the atoms. Atomic time is measured according to its covering of a particular atomic space. That time which covers reality previous to the combination of the atoms is defined Kala Chakra, the orbit of eternal time. Some could say, oh, but how can we be sure that they were talking about atoms? Once someone asked me this question. Because the word atom is anu in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is the first language, the first philosophical language of mankind. So that's why we talk about Indo-European languages, because it relates to Sanskrit. So if the word is there in the dictionary until today in a living culture, it's because anu, the word is already saying by itself, means the indivisible part, indivisible particle. Yes, people would say, but atoms are not indivisible. Yes, but you create a bomb if you break an atom. Now you explode, you destroy lots of things if you dare to break, the alliance, the energetic alliance inside the atom. So it is indestructible, unbreakable in a way, right? So let's go further and try to understand. The Bhagavata Purana also says that time is the power of the almighty personality of God, Hari, which controls all physical movements, although he cannot be seen in the material universe. The same text that says that God, that there is a superior intelligence invisible inside our reality, is the same text that introduces to mankind, before the Greek, before anyone else, the existence of atoms. And let's go further. The division of material time is calculated as follows. 2 atoms make a double atom, and 3 double atoms make one exactum, an hexagonal atomic structure, in Sanskrit, trasarenus. This process lasts for a truti, 1 second divided 1,687.5 parts. This, ladies and gentlemen, is amazing. This is already contains quantum physics and the answer for the biggest question of science until today. What is time and space? Which is something that we are going to try to answer according to the Vedic manuscripts today, and how time and space are created. So this is the answer. This verse, this shloka, this mantra is saying that 6 atoms are going to give hands in space. And they will create an hexagonal geometrical form like this. In 1 second, divided 1,687.5 parts. So it's already giving us the time. The time is being created in the same moment that space is created. Because the atomic time is 1 truti, 1 second divided 1,687.5 parts. Like super small fraction of a second. And that is the duration of formation of the first little space. The molecule. The molecule is a space where atoms are giving hands. A geometrical structure. So geometry, space, and time were born together according to the Vedic Shastra. So the mystery of time and space is already explained in a book that was written 5,000 years ago. Okay, the calculations go on and explain the orbit of the planets and beyond. 100 trutis form 1 Vedha. 3 Vedhas form 1 lava. These calculations describe the time frame, go on and describe time frame of the lunar fortnights. 15 days and nights make up a fortnight, and 2 fortnights, one bright and the other one dark, make up a month. And they go on, and they include the time frame of the orbit of all the planets around us, with perfect, surprising numbers. When the English mathematicians arrived in India during the colonization period, they were astonished by the perfection of the numbers and the size of some numbers. For example, this one. We will also calculate all the eras inside time and space and the total duration of the material universe. 311.04 trillion years. At that time, when the English came to India, they thought the Earth would have around 10,000 to 70,000 years old. And they couldn't even imagine this kind of numbers. It was not on their, on their books. Here's a very interesting linear representation of time-space structure described in the Puranas. So according to the Vedas, we have 4 eras that happen in time in a very particular way. We go from Golden Age, we all heard about Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age, even in our schools in the West. We remember like the teachers saying something about it in school, that some civilization used to talk about that. That also comes from the Indian Vedic culture. So what it is said is that like the Golden Age lasts 1,728,000 years. So also a number that the Westerns couldn't even think of if they thought that Earth was 10,000 years old, right? So anyway, Kali Yuga, the current age, the current Iron Age, lasts for 432,000 years. And the previous age, the Brass Age, lasts for double that amount of time. The most amazing thing, in all the numbers, they dance around and they appear together and they multiply in a very harmonic way. The Third Age, the Brass Age lasts double. So it's 864,000 years. Silver Age 3 times. So it's 1,296,000 years. In the Golden Age, we said already 1,702,000 28,000 years. The 4 eras last 10 times the measure of the Iron Age. Now here we have already the dance of numbers. So 10 times the measure of Kali Yuga is the amount of the 4 ages put together. And the calculation, as I said, goes on almost to the infinite, because it calculates the whole age of the universe. And it's very interesting how the numbers come back again. For example, the 4 eras together last, as we said, 4,320,000 years. 71 times this measure is the duration of 1 Manvantara. 14 Manvantaras plus 15 Sandhyas correspond to 1 day of the universe, 1 day of Brahma. And it goes back to the multiple duration of Kali Yuga. So we have the number again, which is 432 billion years. So the most amazing thing is that Vedic mathematics, the way you can even research online, is like a dance of numbers. It's very easy for Indian mathematics. That's why there are so many Indians working in NASA and working with computers all over the world, right? Because they manage numbers in a very intimate way. Another thing that we need to understand, that philosophy came from India and not from Greece. Philosophy was the center of life in ancient India. So Indian philosophy precedes any other school of thought by thousands of years, not hundreds. And Socrates can be seen as a son of Vedic culture. As we said, the itihasas, the manuscripts that talk about Indian history, prove that India exported philosophy to other countries. Plato was alive when the Vedic culture was already old. And we're going to see that it's not impossible that the Indian philosopher, even the pre-Socratic philosophers, studied in India before bringing the news of philosophy to the West. The allegory of the cave, the famous allegory of the cave, is a version of the Vedic illusion of Maya, in which even the sun is fake. How did Plato got this idea? It's written in the Vedic culture that the sun is a manifestation of the material illusion. Max Müller, who is the father of the comparative religions, was shocked to see the similarities of Plato's writings and the Upanishads. So this is a doctoral dissertation of the University of Texas, establishing that it was Indian philosophy that traveled to Greece through Persia that led to the emergence of Socrates as a renowned scholar of philosophy. So let's clarify one thing. Greece is India, the actual ancient civilization who gave us philosophy, the way of looking to reality and trying to understand it. It's not in the West. Socrates and his fellows might have studied at Takshashila University. These are some images of Takshashila, a university that was already running in 700 BC and had at that time 10,500 students. Okay, even today for a school to reach 10,500 students, it takes a lot of time. So that university was running before the Greeks started inventing their own culture. You know that the first text of Greece culture is from 700 BC, before Common Era. We also found out that Egyptians, Arabians, people from Babylon, Syria, China, all the countries that are falsely considered to be the cradle of civilization were studying as foreigner students at Takshashila University. So just like it happened, for example, in South America, I was born in Brazil, as most of you know. And my father is from Italy, my heart is from India, and I was born in Brazil. The Brazilians brought up many times, imported the ideas from Europe. They used to travel to Europe, learn the modernism, come back and found the Brazilian modernism. After going to Paris and visiting Italy and getting to know different poets and different artists, that used to happen with the West coming to India more than 5,000 years ago. Okay, these are aerial views of Takshashila, so we can see that it's not a small place. If you see like these little things here, this broccoli over here is like a huge tree. So Takshashila was like a real campus, the way we can think today. And this is the map of the Western philosophy, when we can prove that unfortunately, the history of our thought, the thought of the Westerns, are based on two things: competition and speculation. The proof of competition, why do you say competition? Well, the proof is let's say, the moment zero of Western philosophy. Plato's works, right? Plato signs his works with his name. But who is he talking about? He's talking about the teachings of Socrates, of his teacher. And this is why we quoted Jung in the beginning of this class. Jung says that we are barbarians, and we commented here that we are barbarians because we're not thankful for the guru, we're not thankful to the master. And who is the master of Plato? Socrates. But whose name is signing everything that Socrates said? Plato's. So we found the Western philosophy with a guru aparad, we would say in Sanskrit, like betraying the master. The Indians say, if I'm saying something nice, it's because of my guru. If I make mistakes, that's my fault. You see? And that's the opposite of what we do in the West. It's famous, the famous anxiety of influence. The Western artists, the Western thinkers, they want to kill their spiritual father, their intellectual father, to appear more important. And in India it's the opposite. Like a real disciple wants his master to appear important and not him. You know? This is the ethic that can show us reality in a proper way. So another thing that we should understand is that the universe, we now are getting to approach the actual theme of the class, proving the intelligence of the universe, is a machine, the material machine, the way the Vedics say. And I think it's an extraordinary expression. The universe is a material machinery. Now, there's something going on. If it's a machinery, there's someone projecting the machine, someone making the machine run, right? Machines don't appear out of nowhere. If we changed a single figure in the equations that rule the universe, nothing would exist. So we have equations ruling reality, and if you change one number, if you try to make a different version, the universe would not be existing the way it is right now. Materialists believe that the world is fruit of a random incident, and that matter creates consciousness. And this is something that we're going to analyze very soon. For example, this is a joke I found online. If you remove any part, everything will collapse. So finely tuned. What amazing perfect balance. Who made this? And everybody today would answer, because it's very fashionable. Nobody. The universe came out of nothing. Came out of nowhere. Okay, but on the other side, the Vedas talk about the Trinity inside. We heard about Trinity, right? The Christian says that we have the Creator, the Salvator, and the Consolator. But the Vedas talk about something that relates to engineering process, They talk about the project, the creation, the sustaining of that the project, of a power that is maintaining the project up. And then they talk about the destruction of the project. So we're talking about scientific structures behind this Trimurti, the concept of Trinity, which is also first appeared inside Vedic manuscripts. So these forces are respectively known as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv. We're going to understand these things better on the next classes. Anyway, people today are used to say that truth does not exist, right? If you go to a conversation, they say, okay, I have my truth, you have your truth, we cannot deal anything, we cannot even talk anymore, because if I have mine and you have yours, why should we talk? Because I'm not going to change my mind, you're not going to change your mind. And this is something very curious. It's also explained in the Vedic philosophy that if it's ethics that creates your intelligence, it depends on the way you act for you to understand what you can understand, right? So there are people that we can prove something to them and they still don't believe it because of this, because of ethics. So Einstein himself did never deny the factual reliability of mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. So when we say that everything is relative, we're not meaning to say that there is no truth. Otherwise, what would be the scientists, the seekers, the philosophers, the mystics, what would be the goal of human life if not trying to relate to the phenomena around us? So we could call the truth the quantum, chemical, bio-psycho-physical, mechanical, spiritual phenomenon. Everything that is related to what we are seeing and perceiving could be called truth, right? Reality could be called truth. Or people who doubt truth, would they doubt that reality exists too? And reality imposes laws upon man. People say that if you desire something very deeply, you can change everything. Yes, you can change the way you live with your own will, with your own effort. It's true, but it has a limit. This has a limitation. It's not that you're going to think that karma doesn't exist anymore and you're going to suspend the laws. If someone wants to jump out of the window because they think that gravity doesn't exist, what will happen to them? It would be interesting if we all could believe that gravity does not exist. We would be fluctuating and giving the class in mid-air, right? For those who are afraid of words, there are some people who are afraid of the word God, of the word absolute, of the word spirit, of the word soul. We have to remember that the dictionary exists for us to use it. You use a dictionary to understand reality. You cannot forbid words inside a dictionary. Yes, there are more elevated words and very, very dark words, not mean words, who have like deep, sad meanings, right? But it doesn't mean that we cannot use them, that we just can ban words from the dictionary, how people are doing today. And we have here the statement of a skeptical scientist who said, if by the concept of God we are talking about the universal laws, then gods does clearly exist. So let's go inside this in a more deep way. Another thing that we have to consider is that science today changed their equations and calculations every 5 to 10 years. So how can we rely 100% on science? And remember that science is not what you see in television. Science is something else, way deeper, and relate to experiments that are not frequently shown in the media. Okay? The Vedic sage used to say that the role of philosophy is to look upon science and to try to decode what man is calculating into something that you can understand and practically absorb. So philosophy would be the actual help to make us understand what is going on. And for those who still think that chance created the universe, let's take a consideration. If chance were responsible for the sun, for the stars, the moon, for the comets made of ice, for the diamond rain in Neptune, for the oceans, for the stare of the children, for the taste of basil, of mango, or of your favorite fruit, the face of a tiger, and the universal laws, chance would be so much more powerful and perfect than us, that it would be easy for us to feel humble and call it God. Why not? Two definitions of truth. I found these two definitions when I was giving this class in Italy 3 or 4 years ago. In the Enciclopedia Dantesca, it was written that truth is the ontological structure of things in relation to the order of the universe. 1970. But in a very recent encyclopedia, it's written that truth is the need of mankind, a concept difficult to define. See, this is evolution. Please, can you answer me? Are we really evolving? Yes, technologically we are evolving, but ethically, emotionally? We're going to teach our children that truth does not exist. And then we want them to behave properly, though, right? They have to respect us and stop beating their own parents or killing teachers the way it's happening in Brazil and in America. How can you expect children to behave properly if you tell them that truth does not exist? If truth does not exist, you cannot find what is right and what is wrong. So there is no ethics. They can behave the way they want. And then we find ourselves trapped with the adolescents of today, and we don't know why. So, it's easy to manipulate society. If you manipulate a dictionary, if you change the meaning of the basic word around us. It's really silly to repeat what New Age people repeat. Oh, there is no truth. Parents can do better than that. Okay, so now we're going to prove that we are in the Iron Age. Some fake teachers, spiritual teachers, some fake gurus say, don't worry, Iron Age is over, it's finishing, it's in the last moments. You know, everything's going to collapse and everything's going to be gorgeous in 5 minutes. Really so. First of all, let's take a look of the proof. The proof is that in Kali Yuga, in the Iron Age, we are in a moment of disagreement, hypocrisy, social chaos, ignorance, and the reversal of values. Okay, imagine you go back to the capital of your country, and you go to meet the most elegant friends that you have. And in the middle of that dinner, you say to them, you know, I decided to be a virtuous man. I'm following virtue wherever I can, every day of my life. Wouldn't you not risk to never get invited to that dinner again? We would be ashamed in today's society to say, I want to be good, because good is out of fashion. But if you say, I'm a cynical, I am a son of a pa, people clap their hands and they hug you. Oh, like us, right? This is the proof. Virtue is the summation of qualities. How can it be ugly to be virtuous? How can it be ridiculous to have lots of qualities? Let's read what the Bhagavata Purana says about our age. Wealth will be a sign of good family and not behavior, not tradition, not education. Law and justice will be applied based on individual power. Have you ever seen that anywhere? Man and woman will live together just because of physical attraction. Economic success will depend on fraud. So love will have no meaning, promises will have no meaning, right? Fulfilling the belly and using heavy language will be the goal of existence. Families will be deprived of compassion. People will consider they can appear in public just because they took a shower and dressed up. What they do on the day-by-day basis, if they're like horrible to society, if they're stealing from innocent people, it doesn't matter. They're well dressed, right? How elegant. False religions will be considered genuine, and true religion will be seen as false. This is the most amazing one, if we don't consider the last. The Vedas will be completely forgotten. Isn't it amazing? We have a literature that is saying that in some 432,000 years, this book destroys itself. Just like a secret weapon bomb in a detective cartoon show on television. And the most important one, false religions will be considered genuine and true religion will be seen as false. Oh, the Indian religion is so weird. They have elephants with 4 arms, and how can we believe that? We're going to explain that God is able to mix, to cut and to reassemble nature the way he wants, to create meanings for us to understand, can't he? We're going to try to understand that in a future class. But anyway, don't forget this. This false religions will be considered genuine, true religion will be seen as false. Is one of the most important warnings that we can have when we start to understanding Vedic culture. This is a list of scientists who believed in God. So to prove that this fashion that is going on today is backed on the media's feelings that we should all be atheists. But most of the scientists throughout time, most of the scientists inside history, civilizations believed in God until 100 or 200 years ago, firmly believed in God. Because they could notice it, maybe because they used to behave a little bit better than we do today. Okay, Dr. Johnson already proved that the characteristics of the universe and beings are more easily explained as the fruit of an intelligence cause than by accident. The unquestionable presence of a project doesn't need to be proven, it's evident everywhere. So for example, this is a zoom picture of beach sand. You see, so even the micrograins that we step on are carefully designed. They have color, they have shapes, they have significance. And here is something very interesting. It's a book of Kurt Gödel, the Ontologisches Beweis, that proves the existence of God through a mathematic equation. Ontology is the branch of metaphysics that deals with nature of being. So that's why it's called the ontological proof. It's a section of philosophy that studies the nature of reality. So this very unknown today, a mathematician who was very close to Einstein, published a dozen of theorems of worldwide importance. And among them, the one that I found here recently in internet in Italian, this is a logic axiom, a logic equation, let's put it like that, that says, I try to make an easy translation of the meaning of that theorem. So the theorem proves through logic, through mathematical logic, that God exists while he has all positive qualities. And we could think of Krishna's opulences, right? A property is positive if it's true in all possible worlds, so we could think of God's expansions in all the universes. If a being has divine qualities, the fact that it exists belongs to it by essence, Sat Chit Ananda. Something only exists if its essence necessarily does exist too. Existing is a positive quality. God has all qualities, he necessarily does exist. That's what this equation, this theorem means, proved. But, and we have to be careful though. I don't, as I told you last class, I don't base my conclusions on science anymore, I base my conclusions on the Vedas, because they seem to be much more perfect. We have to be careful with scientific dogmas. Today people repeat things that are displayed on television because some scientists said that, or this other thing. But most of them are proven wrong, were proven wrong a long time ago. For example, this is Dr. James Stewart. He is one of the 10 most frequently quoted scientists alive, and he challenges the Darwinists. He says, no one in the scientific community has accepted the challenge of explaining to me, to him, that he's an expert, right? How evolution has happened. From the backstage of the Academy and to the winners of the Nobel Prize, not publicly, as not to terrify them, I ask, you who studied everything, can you explain where life came from? How did it happen? I always ask them this question, and they stutter. They do not answer because they really don't know. You can research his statements if you want. Okay, This is something very interesting. In the Vedas, the name Krishna means the all-attractive spiritual sun, the manifestation of the Absolute, the personality of the Infinite. Krishna is also described in the Narasimha Kavacham as the personification of all sciences. And science today say that stone produced intelligence. That's what they say. You say, do they say that? They don't say, no, yes, they do. How? If they say that matter comes first, and so that the minerals in the ocean produce the first fishes, the first amoebas, and the amoebas produce all the beings, they are saying that stone created man. From stone, man appeared. And Bhakti Rakshakshidra Goswami Maharaj, he asks, what if it was the opposite? Can't we? It's singular. It's fantastic to imagine that a stone can produce intelligence, isn't it? That minerals can produce intelligence. Because that's what they say that there is in the cosmos. Minerals. Right? So if minerals can produce intelligence, why not think the opposite? Think that conscience came first and conscience create matter. Isn't it more logical? For me it sounds less crazy. He says that everything comes from consciousness. In Kali Yuga, mind becomes obscure, and the absence of pure ethical principles calls scientists to reverse reality. It is believed that consciousness evolved from the matter, whereas in fact it is the opposite. Everything is originated in consciousness. For me it sounds logic, but we're going to prove that in the next moments. And now we arrived in the blockbuster part of our class, the chapter called Darwin versus God. And we're going to look closely to Darwin's evolution theory, with all due respect. And these are other scientists that, with James Tour, do not believe in Darwin. You can also research their works and their publications. This is I didn't took it like the endless bibliography against Darwin that I found online, because the writings would be too small here. But anyway, it's easy, and it's already being denied many times by many scientists. Let's see why. Why was Darwin theories denied? The scientific method is a combination of information based on observation and experience. Darwin's hypothesis would have occurred 65 million years ago, which makes it out of the reach of observation and experience. That's why it's a theory, because it cannot be proven. When something is called the theory of the Big Bang or the theory of evolution, it's because it's not a law. It was never being proven. Okay? The missing formula. Each scientific law corresponds to a mathematical equation. Theories that cannot be translated into working formulas are discarded as false. For 1.5 centuries, Darwinists have failed to produce a viable mathematical formula for their theories. So it should already been discarded, but it's still taught in schools and universities until today. The survival of the weakest should be called the theory, not the survival of the strongest, because the offsprings of most animals are born helpless and weak and totally dependent on others. How could we call this theory the survival of the strongest? And here we start to get into the scientific confutation. Darwin's theory requires that organisms are able to add genes to their own DNA in order to evolve into more complex organisms. But no species has the genetic mechanism for adding genes to itself. It's proven wrong. There is no mechanism inside our DNA who can add different DNAs according to any experience that we might have. So there is, inside our factory of DNA, there is no sector responsible for adding new genes in any animal. Not even in man, of course. What did Darwin prove? He proved that adaptation is real, so animals can adapt. Like these birds migrate to that other island so they can change a little bit the beak in order to eat better in the new island. This is proven. This is a scientific, beautiful realization of Darwin. But it ends there. Because, for example, for evolution to happen the way it's described, they say that life originated in the sea. Okay? So they have to prove that minerals got together, and they start getting together so intensely by some reason, then they became like a little being. They've been trying to prove this since Darwin came up with his ideas. And in 1956, Miller and Urey used like a high voltage discharge into minerals to try to prove that. But all they produce with amino acids. They're those little pills that we take to go to the gym, right? And so it was never proved until today that the gap between life and absence of life can be fulfilled in the way they say, from dead matter to living creatures. Not a proof. Another thing, the fossil records demonstrate an absence of intermediary forms. All species suddenly appear in the fossil record totally formed. So there is no, for example, intermediate fish, from amoeba to the first fish. Let's say that amoeba I don't think amoeba produce fossils. I didn't check that. But for example, from the first fish to fish number 2, there is not a fossil in between them. And this leads to this. The missing link is still missing. There are known fossil records in between the species of any species, and not even fossil records in between primates or monkeys and man. So what we have like thousands of fossils of this monkey, thousands of fossils of this monkey, thousands of this one, thousands of this one, thousands of this one, thousands and millions of this one, but not even one in between. So what is this that we see in the museum? Just a line of different monkeys with the man at the end. Nothing else. They say that Lucy is the missing link, but some other scientists say that they placed a monkey bone in the middle. Because why would we have only just one? If Lucy were real, we would have 10 Lucys, 1,000,000 Lucys, as we have like 1,000,000 chimpanzees and 1,000,000 orangutangos. You get the point? There is another thing, the law of entropy. The law of entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. It states something very important. It matches with the Vedas. Why do we go from golden age to iron age? We go from better place to decadent place, right? Gold towards iron. Because of the law of entropy that's ruling everything around us. And it explains very clear that nothing can evolve in the universe. Everything is decaying. So all the systems will die and decay. Well, now we get to a very funny point. The simultaneous evolution of both genders are not plausible and not statistically possible. According to Darwin, male and female of any given species mutate independently. So one mutates in one moment. It takes like 65 million years for us to get this one mutation. We didn't see a mutation in the last 5,000 years, did we? Like there is no evidence anywhere of a mutation in the last 5,000 years. So it doesn't happen in 5,000 years, does it? No. So they have to mutate independently. One, 5,000 years there in a forest, and another one, 10,000 years later in another forest. How can they meet? And not only with time. In order to continue to breed, the mutation would have to occur in the same time, in the same forest, right? In the same place, in the same identical way. So they have to mutate separately in the same direction and produce the same hormones, the same sexual dance in the forest in order to get together. This cannot statistically, mathematically happen. So, in case, let's suppose it would happen in the same forest, and these two new monkeys would have like a relationship, who would the baby, the offspring, have relations with to perpetuate the species? You get the point? Darwin is mission impossible. If it was possible, Lady Amoeba would be our grand-grandmother. Mataji means mother in elevated mother in Sanskrit, in Indian culture. Okay, and these would be the grandchildren. So the horse, the ants, the fishes, the beautiful babies, the birds, the insects, everything will be coming from amoebas, and not only animals. Mangoes, spinach, rice, pine trees, everything that is alive. We should invite the pine tree for dinner because she's our cousin. And we should have a picture of Lady Amoeba on the wall over the piano. Right? This is also impossible. It's manipulation, because the Vedas state that all the planets were created by the Absolute. Okay, if you couldn't think that an ET created us, who created the ET? Huh? You need some. Who created the planet from which he came from? Maya, what is this? Why are we believing in fake things? Because Maya is the external illusory power of the infinite. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, my illusory power that consists of the three modes of the material nature is very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond. So the Vedas talk about demigods, and Earth is made of the same atoms as you almost. Carbon and water. If you have conscience with carbon and water in your small box, why wouldn't Earth? Is Earth completely unconscious? It has rivers, like veins. This is the beautiful delta of the Ganga, going towards the Patalas. It breathes, right? And fire. The Vedas say that fire is a demigod. How can we understand this? Fire occurs in different places, atmospheres and dimensions in our universe. Fire is not the total manifestation, so we cannot call it God, right? It's only a part of the cosmos, but it's ruled by specific chemical laws. The intelligence that is ruling the chemistry inside fire here on Earth, in India, in America, and another planet, is the intelligence of Agni Dev. Something is controlling. Something is the reason for why we cannot burn ice. You get the point? There is a chemical law inside fire. And that chemical law corresponds to a living part of the universe. We talked about the sun last class. But think of the fact that before going away, before leaving us inside darkness, everything becomes pink. And pink is feminine and welcoming on its essence. Because also colors have meanings. So the sun is hugging everyone in an affectionate vibration before disappearing. Right? And let's see, for example, the effect of color. Colors are the effect of vibrating frequency with different gradations. Red, for example, is dense, right? It's the perfect frequency to stop the traffic, because everybody becomes closed in front of red, right? It's the color of blood, so you need red to become dense. And with blue and green, you open the traffic, you open the vibration. Look at the difference. This is the same image, only with different colors. If you see someone red, you think he has fever. If you think someone blue, you think he's cold, right? Color has meanings. Everything has meanings. So, can we really perceive the sun? A self-realized soul can understand all the meanings of the sun, the deep meanings of the sun. And it can identify its countless rays and its geometrical form. We should go out in the morning and greet the sun. My teacher used to say that, I have a teacher today who says the same thing. He says that, for example, for someone who believes in God, the sun is a representation of God. From someone who's studying Vedic, Gaudiya, Vaishnava philosophy, the sun is Mahaprabhu. And for the sincere devotee, for the sincere disciple, the sun is Gurudev. So the sun has multiple meanings that has to be discovered. The statue of Shiva Nataraj at the entrance of the CERN, which accommodates the famous particle accelerator, proves a deep relationship in between science and Vedic knowledge. And if you research online, Maya is very fast. She covers all the traces back to Krishna. But if you research online, they say, oh no, the Indians called us and gave us this as a gift. But it's mythology. We accept it because we are kind. Okay, if it's mythology, let's send them a statue of Santa Claus and see if they put it in the entrance of their gate. Why is Lord Shiva there? Because they are doing a puja. They are adoring Lord Shiva in the gate of the laboratory in order to obtain what they want, right? And let's talk about something interesting. Now we're starting to prove. We're going to build up the proof that God is existing. Okay, so you heard about the chord theory or the string theory. It's a theory that states the universe consists on vibrating waves, which are nothing but subparticles composed of sound or electromagnetic vibration. I'm calling it sound to make it simple. It's a vibration. It's not matter. It's just energy vibrating. The sound is said to resonate from a string of an instrument like a violin. So they're saying, in simple words, that what is producing the atoms is a vibration of some mystical instrument, like a violin. We're going to try to understand that. But before, we're going to take a look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, written 5,000 years ago, and before that, oral tradition, talking about sound. Real scholars who have actual knowledge of the truth define the sound as that which transmits the idea and the presence of an object in space, indicating the existence of a source. So if you have sound, you have source. This is very important. We have to memorize this. How can you know someone is alive? You put the hand on their heart, right? Is it beating? Yes. Is sound coming from that person? Yes. So that person is alive. He exists, right? If you hear a bird, what is going on in the tree? There's some beautiful animal there singing, right? How can you know someone is coming to your house? Because someone is knocking at the door. How can you get up to Vedic knowledge? Because you listen to it. Because you read it. When you read it, it's like listening, right? It's a different way, a decoded way of listening. It's also Shabda Brahman. So if sound exists, a source exists. This is very important for us to fix. Okay, what do they do inside the CERN, which is the most expensive scientific laboratory in the world? They prove the existence of the boson of Higgs. Higgs was a scientist who was friend with an Indian scientist called Bose. That's why he called the God's particle the boson. We're going to see that maybe in another chapter of our studies. They confirmed that the atoms are made of subatomic particles that are nothing but sound vibration. They're nothing but electromagnetic energy. Something like this. There is nothing there. You cannot touch it. So, but reality, this thick wall, is only made by thick layers of energy. We heard about everything is made by energy. It also comes from the Vedas. In the Vedas it's stated that everything is within the Om. And we're going to try to understand it. So according to the string theory, everything that exists comes from a sound vibration that materializes the universe the same way a musical score underpins a symphony. String scientists refer to it as the notes of a violin, as we said before. Okay, so what is happening? What did they prove in that laboratory? That everything is within the Om. That there is like an original vibration creating matter. Okay, so when I'm walking on the floor, I'm walking in layers of Omkar. You get the point? I'm walking on the brick of matter, which is the famous Omkar, exactly described as the boson of Higgs. Why is everything called, what is boson? Because it's the Om of Bose. He was an Indian scientist wanting to prove that the Puranas were right. So what is going on around us? The Om is vibrating in the universe, and it's creating layers and layers of vibration. And these layers of vibration, when they meet, they create like an encounter of energy. Those encounters of energies create the boson, the photon, the electron, the proton. The Om is going on the cosmos. It's echoing. And you know sound is propagated by waves, right? So there is like this geometry waves of electromagnetism going on. When they meet, intelligently meet, they start creating the atoms from the inside. Atoms are not created by the outside. They're created from, like everything, is created from the inside. You create a baby from the inside, not from the outside, right? So these lines meet. When they meet, they like fold themselves. They make like a little brick of energy. And this starts echoing and echoing and echoing, so it reproduces, so the atoms start coming. And which are the first atoms? The gases. Right? This is the order, explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. First you have the gas. And then what do you have after gas? The liquids, right? And you keep going like that until you build up the whole universe, like in those games that you used to play when we were little. Maybe virtual children don't play that. But we have that naval battle, that you are like marking the little dots inside like a grade shape thing. So imagine like a 3D or a 4D or a 5D, like a dimensional grade, in which you start painting from the inside. So first you paint the bosons, they appear. Then you paint up the protons, then you paint up the electrons, and they start appearing. And when you have enough gas, finally, you're going to light up the stars or the sun. What do you need to light up something when you're cooking? You need gas, right? So it's not possible, what people say in other literatures, that first came light. Because light is the third one to appear. First came sound, and then came gas, and then we had light. This is the order. You need a lot of gas to light up the sun, don't you? So, the most incredible thing is that everything in the universe is made of layers. There are layers of energy. So this image that we're seeing now, they're creating like a web. So there is the web of the bosons, there is the web of the electrons, there is the web of the protons, and they start forming itself like in an intricate like tissue of reality. Okay? So we have to understand that there is not such a thing as a free electron circulating around. The electron is tied to its field. So there is like a web of electrons, and when the electrons pop out, he's exciting the web, like, for example, someone that puts a finger inside a cloth. So the electron is doing this inside the web of electrons, the web of the electrons. So they are all united. All the electrons belong to the same field. So when we move inside space, what is actually moving? It's an illusion, that's the illusion. Your electrons, your atoms are moving inside these fields, and you get transported inside this web. You get the point? For example, a ball. A ball crosses space with all of its particles within the atoms, simultaneously expanding into other fields of matter. So there is no such like an independent ball. There is an illusion of a ball who's crossing the symphony of material universe like clouds of notes in movement inside music. That's what we are. We're mantras. Walking mantras. It's not that easy to understand, and maybe if we get a chance to study time and space deeply. So the Om is echoing, and it creates also space and time. It not only creates the small structures of the atoms, it also creates the orbit of the planets. Where is the Sun going to orbit? Where is the Jupiter going to orbit? The line is made with the echo of the Om. So it's everything happening at the same time. The universe is coming up, popping up, out of an intelligent project, which corresponds to Brahma in Vedic culture, the intelligence of the universe, the projector of realities. So also time and space are created by the Om. You get the point? So this is what is really happening. We are moving like in a movie, but it's not a 3D movie the way we see in television or the way we see when we go to the theater. It's a 12D movie. There are 12 dimensions inside this universe. So what happens is that the universe is creating to us the illusion of our existence. And it's so clever, that air is invisible. Can you see air now? Look at the air. The air is in front of you and it's invisible. If it was not invisible, we couldn't have any other illusion. So the air is intelligently invisible so that we can see the other things and we can have the illusion of being separate from the source. But deep inside the quantum mechanics of reality, we are attached to these fields. And here we get to talk a little bit about dimensions. So the dimension 0 is the point. This is not complicated, it's very interesting. So the point is the soul, or the point is the infinite. No? You cannot count it. But what is Sambandha Gyan? What is it? The translation, mathematical translation of Sambandha Gyan is the line that connects the dot, the soul, to the infinite. And then you keep constructing reality through this dimension. So if you move the point, you get the line. If you move the line, you get a plane, right? You're moving a line, you get something like a sheet of a paper, a plane. If you move the plane, you get the cube, right? What happens when you move the cube? You got the cube inside time. If I move the cube, I get the cube here, and then the cube in the next centimeter, and the cube again here, right? And I go from this wall to the other wall with the cube in my hand. So I get the cube inside time. Time is the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension of your life, if you could see it, would be all the positions you took since you pop out of the belly of your mother. And you were taken to the hospital and to the infirmary and back to the mother, and you were washed, and all the movements, the universe is producing a different form of yourself. It is already proven by science. I'm not inventing anything. I cannot give you the whole proof of the whole thing. I'm just telling you the way scientists explain things now. Otherwise, it would take weeks for us to go there. But anyway, so you in the fourth dimension is you from the birth. Every movement, every hair, every changing, every white hair coming up, blinking, everything that happened, you going up the stairs, you coming down, you taking elevator. If you made a line of all the movements you could do, that would be the picture of you inside fourth dimension. It has to exist, and the universe is producing this. Otherwise it wouldn't be happening. Wittgenstein used to say, the question of who made it is secondary. Let's realize the fact that it is happening and it's already a miracle. And how is it happening? This way. So let's review the point. So the next dimension is created when the original form is multiplied, creating a new angle, a new vertex. Okay? A vertex is an angle, a line that comes out from the original form. So we go into more complex dimensions, adding forms to the original form. So the cube is third dimension. The cube moving is the cube in fourth dimension. Okay? So fourth dimension is time. What is the fifth dimension? So what you have when you multiply the cube. The fifth dimension, let me explain this first. So past, present, and future all exist together. This is the declaration of Einstein. It's not only me who's saying this. The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion, said Einstein. Okay, so this is the fourth dimension, for example, another representation. So you have the present in the middle, the past on your back, and the future ahead of you, right? If you multiply this, you will get the fifth dimension. But let's read what is in this image. In our experience, we feel time as a continuum. But reality is made like a movie built upon atoms that travel through space. Einstein explained that moments unfold one after the other. Our consciousness crosses through these moments like a particle, like a comet. So that's what's happening. The universe is producing your new body moment after moment, and you're aging, right? And you have the impression that the past disappeared and the future doesn't exist. But it's because your consciousness is surfing this mechanism inside time. So your conscious is like the pointer of a clock, like a clock hand. And that's going from now to now to now to now to now, you see, into the future, falling inside time, surfing the manifestation, the momentary manifestation of your body. And usually people, when they start studying spirituality, they say, oh, all that exists is the present. No. Past exists, present exists, future exists, and the goal is not only the present. Of course you have to stay focused to realize, to learn things, yes. But the focus is eternity, not the present. You are already in the present. Hello. So, our consciousness crosses through these moments like a particle, like a surf on the top of a wave. Our ego, the material self, is like a clock hand. So, you see, this is what we perceive, and this is what the universe is producing. So the universe is way bigger than what you can imagine, because time and space is inside the building of the universe. You get the point? Like in the movie. So, what is the magical thing about the movies? Because we have this persistence of the image in the retina, which makes movie possible. They take a lot of pictures of one thing, and they show it very fast, and 5% of that image remains for 5% of 1 second inside your retina. So you attach two images together, and you have the impression of movement. The universe is doing the same thing to us, in a deeper way. We can only get to 3D movies. You put those glasses on, right? And you see 3D movie, right? So the glass that you have on is your subtle body. And you see a 12D movie. Is it clear? So what is the universe? Time and space is the architecture through which the infinite distributes knowledge and devotion. So this is what time and space is. The way that this supreme intelligence is distributing knowledge and love. There is a line to reach perfection. And there are infinite beings according to the Vedas. It's endless. There are endless souls coming inside the universes. In the plural, we're going to talk about that soon. And they're going up the Empire State cosmos. Inside time. This is the material machine of the universe. This is the image of the Big Bang, which is not a Big Bang, you understood it already, it's a big Om. Because explosions cannot create anything in nature. And the stars take birth only in the third moment of creation. So there is no explosion at all. It's just the vibration, and we're going to go there too. So the building of the universe is divided by sections, time and space sections. As we explained before, the 4 yugas, the manvantaras, the kalpas. This is all divided by lines. So here it is a Kali Yuga, here there is the next Kali Yuga, and on the side of this Kali Yuga there is the future Satya Yuga. You get the point? And Lord Brahma, the first star of material reality, is watching the whole building. And the Vishnu Purana, Lakshmi Devi asks Vishnu, what is going to happen to Dhruva? This is for those who are studying the Vedas for a longer time. And he answers, I don't know, Devi. Only Lord Brahma knows the future. Why? Because of the perspective. He is inside the show. Vishnu is inside the show. He wants to watch reactions, emotions. Lord Brahma is looking to the whole building from the control room on the top of the building. Brahmalok, Satyalok, the first star manifested inside the universe, who is responsible, who is connected to all time and dimensions, because he's the one who's thinking about this. Vishnu is the one who's making it happen. Maintenance. And Lord Shiva is dealing with decaying substance, us. There's no competition to be done in the personalities of the infinite intelligence. We just need to understand their positions and their functions and their relation to each other. But we're not going to talk about that in this class. So let's imagine that we can see time from a different point of view. It would be like this. This is like a video game. So you can see, for example, that here someone take birth, and this person walks into here, and this is like it's 5 years for this person. So all the activities is inside this first square. Okay, and then the life of that person keeps going. This is the way ghosts see us, and this is the way, this is how psychic people who talk with ghosts can tell us what is going to happen, because they can watch. They are looking at us the way we look at cells in the microscope. They are in a different velocity of time-space. You get the point? They're out of our street. They are looking for our street from a different point of view. So there is no wonder, that person could predict that the baby was going to be a girl or a boy. But that's not divine power. That is just communication with our neighbors. They are not God. So for example, here you take birth and here you have your wedding. It's already built. The universe is pre-cooked. What is up to you? Your emotions and your choices. And your choices will determine the fifth dimension. The fifth dimensions are free will. So on the past, you have like a line of your actions. In the future, you have many lines in front of you. You can open this door now and go away. You can keep being on the floor. You can go to the toilet, right? Right now. So the universe has to open this for you. It's in front of you. And this will determine your future life, your actions. So imagine a tree. The past is the trunk. Yeah. And the future are the branches. You see? So, for example, someone punches someone right now. Some branches disappear and other branches open. Someone kills a person. Good branches disappear, bad branches open in the future. That's the way the karma will regulate where you're going. But all of this has to be open in front of you by the universe. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to walk inside the box and do things. The universe has to allow you. And in the moment that you have the first note, that the first Om is echoing, all time is inside the Om. Because it cannot be produced extra. The power has to be there, otherwise it doesn't get manifested. So it's not the Big Bang, as we said, it's the big Om. Sound is the basis of matter. The source cannot be an explosion but a vibration. So Om echoes and creates time, space, atoms, the whole thing. It starts coming up intelligently since the beginning. And it creates the different timings. How is it possible that now, if I call my country, if I call Brazil, I can talk to yesterday? Or if they call us in Brazil by night, they talk to tomorrow. They are on Saturday. It happens all the time with me and my students. They call me. Here it's Sunday morning and they are Saturday night. How can Sunday morning talk to Saturday night? Oh, people say it's jet lag. Oh, hello. We need to realize things, not repeat them. What is the jet lag? We are all walking inside space and time, and India is ahead. With its relation to the sun. The sun is the same, right? So it's not an effect. You get the point? The sun is setting there, and it's already in 8 a.m. here, for example. In the same moment. So we're talking inside the building. This room to this room. And it's 8.5 hours of distance. Not only kilometers. Why are we tired when we take a plane? Because you travel through this, to the grill. The grill is, your body fights the travel. So you're exhausted. Because you have to cross it. You don't feel it, but you can become aware of it, right? Conscious of it. You can put it inside your consciousness, right? I'm trying not to make mistakes with some words in English. Please forgive my English. Okay, the fifth dimension is described as free will. So time and space are like corridors inside the cosmos. So this is like a vision of the cosmos from fifth dimension. Something similar. Maybe some digital artists could help me make it better, because I try to make this in a very simple way. Okay, time and space are like corridors inside the cosmos. A period of our lives would fit inside this image, exactly like a fifth dimension projection. Let's suppose that, for example, this is today's Kali Yuga. And the second one, this is today Kali Yuga, and this is next Kali Yuga. You see? It's inside space. So how do we reach Mahaprabhu? We go to his box. It's another looker. And it's always happening. The avatars, let's say something for those who are more advanced students, the avatars are in their places eternally, distributing mercy, because they are eternal. The machine around them creates the illusion of time passing, of decaying objects, but it's passing, but they are there. You get? Eternally distributing, dancing, teaching. So the sixth dimension would be the multiplication of fifth dimension. So you're going to have all the hypotheses possible for you in the future in front of you. I'm not going to explain all the dimensions because that's not the goal of the class. We're going to go to explain the fact that higher dimensions have higher number of vertices. We're going to multiply this, okay, up to the topmost dimension, which is supposedly be this image, an image with 10 to the potency of 60 vortices. A number with 60 zeros. And remember that 1 billion has only 9 zeros. Okay? So, this, according to science, to mathematics, is the most advanced geometrical form possible. You cannot create a geometrical form with more vertices than this. There is no way to go. Okay? Astonishingly, the Vedas say that 10 to the potency of 60 is the number of universes orbiting around the transcendental reality, and we are just one. Our universe, the universe that the scientists watch from their little glasses, because those big huge telescopes are little tiny glasses and the top of grains of sand compared to the size of Earth. I'm not comparing the size of the universe. Okay, but compared to the Earth, the super huge telescopes are little glasses. Okay? We're tiny like ants. trying to understand. They say, for example, that the galaxy is like in a transversal line. The Vedas say it's not, it's standing up. So it changed completely our position. We're not like in the suburb of the galaxy, we're right in the center. They cannot see it properly because like how can ants determine how is the universe really working out from their position? So let's try to understand this. According to the Vedas, there is a spiritual universe in the center, which is emanating and producing like a huge geometrical form, 10 to the potency of 60 universes around it. Universes, stars, and atoms are rotating around the all-attractive personality of the infinite. If it was not an explosion who put the atom to spin, and if it was an explosion, the velocity would decrease, right? Because if I push you, sooner or later your velocity will decrease against resistance of other energies around you. But the atom is spinning in the same velocity, the planets are orbiting in the same velocity, because they are all adoring the center. Directly or indirectly, it depends on their position, they are orbiting the center. And that's what's happening with the universes. So the only possible way to get outside a geometrical dimension that has 10 to the potency of 60 vertices is completely exit material reality. There is no mother vertex anymore. You don't have a line to go further. You have to evaporate from matter and go inside transcendence, spiritual reality. So we have to go inside the spiritual realm. That's what the word transcendental means. The word transcendental means something that goes beyond the word material, just as the word transversal refers to a line that crosses and continues past a straight line. You get the point? So Mahavishnu, Krishna, is watching 10 to the potency of 60 Big Bangs, organizing perfect geometry around him, simultaneously, in his Yoga Nidra meditation. He's watching his own possibilities, the possible versions of realities that he himself can produce. What is in between the Mahavishnu and the material universes? Where are they floating? On the Brahmajyoti, the ocean of non-qualitative manifestation of God, which is not the ultimate goal. It's just in between the transcendental universe and the material universe, as we're going to see now. We're getting close to the end of the class. I ask you to have a little bit more of patience. We're finishing and getting to our conclusion. So let's check the Srimad Bhagavatam. Made by a combination of layers of the 8 material elements, 10 to the potency of 60 universes clustered together appear like atoms in a huge combination. This is in the Vedas. I'm not making it up. Influential stars, celestial luminaries, and even atoms, they are all rotating their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme Sri Krishna, which is invisible in material reality because he's known material. God is known material. Of course, God is not the drawing that the Indians do. That's a representation of God, right? The way the word is not, the word chair is not the chair. We're representing God with the drawing. People get scared. They say, they see this. They say Vishnu with thousands of arms, and they say, I don't understand that. But how could God touch every dimension? How could he arrange atoms, dimensions, planets? How could he manipulate like a psychic with his mind? Or he can simply manifest thousands of millions of arms and really touch things. Why not? All the arms belong to God. All the forms belong to God. Who's producing your arms? Who's producing our arms? Who's producing the atoms? How many arms does the infinite have? How many teeth is necessary to create mankind from the beginning of the universe to the end? It has to be counted. Someone is counting the grains of sand in the beach. If you multiply the grains of sand in a beach by 2, you cannot see the ocean. Everything is calculated. And it's evident the more you dig into Vedic culture, the more you follow the Vedic principles, the more you're going to be able to see that. So, when materialistic people listen to the words that all the worlds are rotating around the Mahavishnu's waist, they think it's mythology. But that's what is happening. Just like Saturn and its rings, there is the transcendental central universe, the definitive version of reality, which is our goal. And then there are these wombs, provisory reality, that we are crossing, like someone is crossing like multiple layers of dreams. And every time that you wake up in a life, you learn something, you take something, and you keep walking inside this. This is the way it has to be organized, the rhythm of the infinite souls to reach the center of the infinite. People say, oh, how many souls is necessary for mankind? 7 billion, 8 billion. Well, the Vedas says that every single moving being has a soul. So insects have like a particle of conscience. And they're inside karma. So we are talking of trillions of infinite numbers of souls. We are the rays of the sun. How many rays does the sun have? So it's organized like that, just like Saturn with its rings. And now the question, violin or flute? Why do the string theorists say that there is a violin playing if the Vedic Shastras say it's a transcendental flute? Because of Maya, because they have to say the opposite, because people cannot see the evidence. Vedic knowledge has to be reached out of your conscience, out of your ethical behavior. Otherwise you get lost in between. The Vedas say that the ocean of the absolute intelligence emanates a transcendental music. This is the sound of Krishna's flute, not violin. And the echo of these spiritual notes project a shadow. This reflection on the other side of reality is matter, is the external layer of eternity. So let's understand something. They call the notes of Krishna's flute like clean, right? When they get to the frontier of the transcendental universe, what happens? It crosses already infinity. The music, the blessing, the transcendental music crossed infinity. What happens on the other side? It collapses inside itself. It goes upside down. It implodes and it creates a cosmic womb. Whoa! It echoes inside matter. And the lines of its echo organize the universe. So the Om comes from a source, like every sound comes from a source. And this source is not part of Maya, the way Mayavadi says. That's not what is in Puranas. This source is on the other side of the Brahman, of the Brahmajyoti. Because if it were inside of Maya, it couldn't produce itself. It has to be, the universe has to be created for something that is non-material. Science also states that. Otherwise, if the source would decay, no source could create the whole universe if it's a decaying source. The source has to be eternal. It's scientific also. I could explain this, but I didn't put it in the class. So this is what's happening. So, of course, this is a drawing that represents the beautiful infinite playing his music, his transcendental spiritual music. And this is this shaped diamond thing around it. It would be Vaikuntha, the central absolute universe. And around it, you have the effulgence of the Brahman. You have the ocean of non-qualitative manifestation of the infinite. That's the goal for the Mayavadis, for those who want to become one with God. But the actual Purana says that better than come here, it's to come here, because here you're going to follow down from the next universe, because your goal is have an eternal relationship with the source of love. Here you have no personality. It's like a spiritual suicide, it's described in the Vedas. You just fuse yourself to the power, but you have no personality anymore. You cannot relate. But here inside, this is just the refulgence of the spiritual body of God. And the universe are floating around here. But here inside, it's made of realities, and realities are beautifully described. God is described in the Vedic Shastra as like realities inside diamonds. It's beautiful. It's in the Brahma Samhita. We could read a piece of it in the next class. So let's go a step back. So we have Vaikuntha, the central absolute universe, Brahman, the ocean of spirit, and around the Brahman, the material universe is this dark part, are floating. So the material universes are the upside down side of the absolute reality. A reflection. It's like if God was in the center of a mirror room, a diamond made of mirrors, and you have multiple reflections around him. And the latest ones, the ones that out of the infinite, it's the upside down of the infinite, are the material universes. Where we are. We're here. In the crust, in the material crust of the eternal reality. Swimming, dying, waking up, sleeping again. And trying to reach the center. And getting confused by Maya. And getting confused by fake philosophy. Which is part of the job of Maya. The illusion is here to say, learn step by step. But those who are wise, those who are karmically lucky, they find these teachings and they say, okay, this is happening and I'm going to find my way faster through the multidimensional illusion universe. So matter is the external crust of the non-material universe, and that's where we are now. We are inside the outer layer, the peel, the bark, the crust of eternity. We find ourselves inside the cosmic aggregate, the way the Brahma Samhita say. I find this word so technical, so scientifical. The cosmic aggregate, like there are cosmic aggregates like a gigantic molecule. They are aggregated to what? To the original absolute reality, right? The cosmos is a material womb for immature souls. And that's what we are, and that's why we need to be humble. Because we're still immature, we don't know the truth. We have to be humble and beg for the truth to come to us. That's what Mahaprabhu came to distribute. We are here trying to understand existence. Some of us are reaching towards the original Vedic knowledge to finally connect ourselves with the infinite. Haribol, my dear friends. I'm not going to explain this because we reached the end of the line, but this is another representation of eternal reality. So Krishna is in the center. He has expansions like diamond, like a flower made of diamond petals. And in between us, it's the Brahma Jyoti, the ocean of refulgence, the shining of the body of God. He does not shine inside the transcendental universe, otherwise nobody would see anything. He's kind enough to shine in between us, because he can organize his powers the way he wants. This first part is described in the Puranas and the Brahma Samhita. This is described in the Upanishad. This is described in the Puranas and the four Vedas. All these balls here are the other universes, 10 to the potency of 60, from which ours is one, only one. And this is described to be from the size of the seed of mustard in comparison to the original universe, in comparison to the form of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu means the supreme creator form of God, the super sustainer. So we are here in one of 10 to the potency of 60 universes. People say God is big. How big? Like this. And the Brahman is not the ultimate goal. It's not what it's written on the original texts. It's in between. Clever people don't want to come here, they want to come here. Those who think that they are God and they want to come here, they are trapped again. This is like the source of our illusion, to think you are the supreme. But really, did you manifest all the atoms and you don't know? What happened to you? What did you drink for you to forget that you have all the power? Are you the source of the sun? Really? And you don't remember? Wow! So what kind of memory, what kind of power do you have originally? That you throw yourself into matter to die and take birth again and again and again? To go to the line of the bus, to beg in the streets for money, for food. What kind of God would you be? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the answer of this. He said that the soul is simultaneously equal to God in quality. We also eternity, divine pleasure, and knowledge. But we are infinitesimal. We are an atom. We are a ray of the sun. And God is Satchitananda to the infinite potency. He is existing. Why would you need to be humble to study spirituality if you have to prove yourself to be God? We're going to talk again about this. I hope you like the class. To understand the Vedas, how do we do? First thing, start, if you say, okay, I want to study this. Instead of going online and researching for Indian people, like people call me after first class and they say, look, I took initiation from this Indian gym teacher. He lives in this very nice school, in the back room of a school in Rishikesh. Do you agree with that? What can I say to these people? It's very complex. If you want to go online, search and do it by yourself, remember one thing, Maya is controlling the web too. The source of the key out of the matrix, the people say, is not going to appear on Facebook unless the Eternal Vedic Science group posts it there. So if you want to trust us, wait, watch the next class, and be careful, because today many both Indian and Western charlatans, sages, fake gurus, very famous ones, some of them have helicopters, ashrams, islands. The biggest channels online are the richest men in the world. Why? Because Maya, during Kali Yuga, is paying for them. Oh, you want to be God, so what do you need? Disciples, temples, helicopters, what else do you want? And then that tiny soul that's teaching wrong things to other people will learn and will have to go back to the line again. Karma is not that easy to solve. Anyway, be careful. They say that God is a metaphor. There's lots of super famous Indian sadhus today saying, oh, Lord Shiva is a metaphor, Krishna is a metaphor, it's yourself. You have to reach that level. They don't even read the Puranas. I took 2 years to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, one of them. And they're teaching people. Come on. That's why this group exists, because we're trying to unite science and spirituality. For you to get basis to understand what's going on and don't fall into the easy traps of Maya. Remember one thing, when the apple appeared in the tree, the little girl that was wanting to take the apple was already there. So we're looking for God. But let's realize the garden is complex. So that what they say contradicts clearly what is written in the original Vedic mantras. The Shri Upanishad says, okay, I saw the Brahman, and now please reveal your face to your kind devotee. I saw your effulgence, your golden effulgence. Now let me go forward and reveal your form, your transcendental form to me. We have to be lucky to understand this and to pray for sincerity. So this is what we have to look for: humbleness, sincerity, devotion, and rely on the instructions of pure sages to understand the knowledge found in ancient Vedas. This is a bona fide path for decoding and grasping the eternal meanings of Vedic manuscripts. I thank you all for your attention, for your presence, all of you that are here. And if you want, you can join our page, watch our channel. I don't like asking people to click, to do, but for us to get connected, these are the ways today. We are inside Kali Yuga and trying to bring you conscience of the Absolute through virtual reality too. Why not? Hope you are lucky enough to get in contact with us. In the other class, we showed our WhatsApp number. You can call us. You can write to me on Facebook. My name is Claudio Nigro. And I will answer. I will talk to you normally. I hope I can be your friend. And I hope you can be mine. Thank you again for your presence. And Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.